Hi everyone, this is Dr. Victoria Nalule, and today I'm going to talk about the issue of critical minerals and the various critical mineral concerns, especially in this era of energy transitions. So there have been various issues with respect to critical minerals, since they are very key in ensuring that countries comply with the various global goals that are associated with tackling climate change as stipulated in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 13, that is on climate action. And we've also seen the various goals stipulated in the 2015 Paris Agreement. So yes, I understand the world really wants to tackle climate change. And one of the ways of tackling climate change is not the only way, but one of the ways of tackling climate change is to ensure that we transition to a low carbon economy, is to ensure that countries embrace the various decarbonization mechanisms. And all this comes with a challenge, because when you're talking about decarbonization, when you talk about transitioning to a low carbon economy, then you have to ask yourself, do we have the resources to really transition? That's the first thing, the funding. And obviously the funding is there. The other important issue to ask yourself, do we have the necessary technology to help us transition to a low carbon economy? And obviously the technology is there. Now, do we have the necessary minerals that are really essential for this energy transition? That's why now this topic or today's discussion, I really want to talk about the various key issues that we tend to ignore, especially on a discussion about climate change. Because I always, in my various publications, in my books, even presentations, I always make it clear that we need to put emotions aside when we're discussing climate change and energy transitions. We need to put our emotions aside and look at the facts, look at the data, look at the realities. We have to get away from the streetlight effect and be real of what is happening. So I know I always follow various climate change activists, and there are various demands, especially with respect to stopping funding for fossil fuel projects, stopping the development of various energy infrastructure projects, like for instance, the East African crude oil pipeline. I know it's under attack, or it's under concern, especially from climate change activists who are really opposed to the development of that pipeline. But now the question I really need to ask myself, or I need to ask different people is, okay, what if we decide to stop investing in fossil fuels, stop investing in all these other projects? Can the energy sector, or can we survive as a human race without extractives? Can you survive without extractives? And extractives, remember, they include oil, gas, coal, and minerals. Minerals are exhaustible. Those are all extractives. And minerals are also associated with various environmental impacts, various pollution, air pollution, the use of chemicals. We have seen issues with respect to small-scale mining, artisanal mining. We have seen environmental degradation, issues to do with mining closure. All those are environmental concerns that are related to the mining sector. And yet, the same extractives are very key to tackle the challenge of climate change. Now, these are just facts. And I know in recent years, because of the streetlight effect, some people have been shying away to mention some of these facts. But myself, I'm speaking from experience, but also research, because I've done a lot of research on energy transitions. I have a book. I have a book on mining and the law, so I know about the mining sector. I'm lecturing climate change law at the University of Bradford, so I know about climate change. I know about energy access challenges because I have a book on that. I know about decarbonization because I've written about it. I've talked to policymakers, so on my part, there are no emotions. Now, the question is, can you tackle climate change without extractives? And the simple answer is you cannot. At the end of the day, however much we're saying we really need to tackle climate change, at the end of the day, we need these extractives for us to be able to tackle climate change. And that brings me to the issue of critical minerals, because these minerals have become so important in that without them, we cannot have an effective or successful energy transitions. Without them, we shall not have the electric vehicles, implying that it will be hard to decarbonize the transport sector. Because remember, with decarbonization, you're looking at phasing out petrol and diesel fueled vehicles and replacing them with electric vehicles. But as I'll be showing you in my slides for today's slides, you'll see that an electric vehicle requires more minerals compared to a fossil fuel vehicle. Then the other issue is with energy transitions, we're looking at investing more in renewable energy efficiency, renewable energy like solar energy, but solar panels, they rely on metals for them to be manufactured. Where exactly are you going to get those metals? You're going to rely on the extractive industries. Still, there's an issue of environmental degradation, an issue of climate change, and so on. Wind energy, because it's also part of renewable energy. You have to rely on wind turbines. Where exactly are you going to get those wind turbines? You have to manufacture them using minerals or metals that is still part of the extractive industries. We're talking about the hydropower and the various electrification mechanisms. If you look at the issue, for instance, an example of electricity grids, you look at most of these electricity interconnections, they rely on copper for them to be really manufactured. Where exactly are you going to get that copper from? Still, you have to rely on metals, and it's part of the extractive industries. So in this video, I want us to be very clear that when you're talking about climate change, energy transitions, and the extractive industries, you need to put emotions aside and understand that at the end of the day, the extractive industries can support the move to transition to a low carbon economy, which is very key in ensuring that we tackle climate change. And in this respect, there is a need to strike a balance on how policymakers, the various stakeholders, the activists, the civil society, you need to strike a balance to ensure that there is a level playing field when you're developing the extractive sector, that is oil, gas, mining, and coal, and also when you're tackling climate change. Because once you miss that balance, then you're going to have different disasters or different crises. So most people can even ask, the critical minerals are exhaustible. At the end of the day, they can be depleted. So what happens when we're done with the critical minerals? Won't we, and we have gone through a wholesome energy transition, which is basically not possible, what would happen then? And those questions are actually like they're valid questions. What happens? Because you're really relying on the extractive industries to ensure that you move towards a low carbon economy. So what happens when these minerals are exhausted? Will it mean that we'll not have any electric vehicles, or it will be hard for us to utilize solar energy because of the solar panels? They can't exist because of these minerals. So we need to ask ourselves those questions and be sure that we try to address them and also find a level playing field so that we leave emotions aside and really sit on a table and understand that one thing that is really key to ensure that you tackle climate change is the issue of technology. Like I always mention, we need to invest more in technology to ensure that we have various ways of um, limiting the impact of the extractive industries on the environment. And remember, extractives is not only oil and gas, it includes mining, it includes the critical minerals that we need for the energy transitions. So the extractive industries is very key in tackling climate change. So let me just share a few slides here to put the discussion into context, okay? So yeah, today's discussion is basically critical minerals and the energy transition, and I've already given you a brief of really what is happening and what should be happening. In summary, we need to put emotions aside and understand that the extractive industries is very key in tackling climate change. So, what are these critical minerals? Minerals are considered as critical or strategic are those scarce metals and non-metals that are crucial for the economy. They're characterized by geological scarcity, hence limiting their supply. So minerals that are basically critical, there's no international definition of critical minerals. There's no accepted definition of critical minerals. Different scholars, different experts, and different organizations define it differently. But however, what we have to understand is minerals are considered to be critical because of their scarcity. And remember, not every country possesses these minerals. So there's that issue of geography. They are located in a few countries. So what happens when there is a disruption in some of in the supply of these minerals? Because it can easily happen. Not every country possesses this mineral. So the issue of geography becomes really very important when we talk about critical minerals. So geography and availability of domestic supply often defines which minerals are deemed critical for any particular region or country. As mentioned, the importance of critical minerals has increased in recent years given the global move to transition to a low carbon economy. I've already mentioned that we cannot have a successful or effective energy transition without access to these critical minerals, implying that the energy transitions or the move to tackle climate change is reliant on the extractive industries. So we need to have that connection so that we don't get confused or we don't get confused or lost in the streetlight effect. What I call the streetlight effect is this is climate change. You need to tackle climate change. These are the goals. You need to abide by these goals without really understanding, the interconnection between the extractives, energy transitions, and climate change. So the connection between energy transitions and critical minerals, it's very important because like I mentioned, transitioning to a low carbon economy is one of the ways for us to tackle climate change. Energy transitions are characterized by the deployment of renewable energy and energy efficient technologies. Among the minerals that are considered to be critical are those metals and semi-metals used in the manufacture of wind turbines, electric vehicles, solar panels, and other high-tech applications which are crucial for shifting to a low carbon economy. I've already mentioned this. The connection between critical minerals and energy transitions is because we need these minerals in the manufacturing of the different technologies and the different instruments or even tools that are needed in the energy transition. Like in the case of wind energy, you will need wind turbines, and these also require critical minerals. In the case of decarbonizing the transportation sector, if you are to get rid of the petrol and diesel fueled cars, then you need to deploy electric cars. But all these need like critical minerals. For instance, copper is essential for the use of electricity throughout the energy system, and platinum is a key material in many clean energy technologies and emissions control devices. So we are saying platinum here, we are saying copper here. However, if you're moving forward, you understand that lithium, cobalt, and nickel provide batteries with greater charging performance and higher energy density. So these are all critical minerals. And then some rare earth elements such as neodymium make powerful magnets that are vital for wind turbines and electric vehicles. So this is an example of critical minerals and how they're used in the different sectors with respect to electrification, with respect to the transport sector, that is for the electric cars, with respect to the solar energy, wind energy. So you realize that the critical minerals really become very important. And like I mentioned, since these minerals are located in a few countries, that means that there can easily be a disruption in the supply of these minerals. So that is very key, because if these disruptions are not really addressed, then we can see major weaknesses, or we can face a situation where countries are not going to be able to meet their low carbon goals because of lack of critical minerals to be able to address some of these needs. So pandemic-related disruptions have proved the importance of reliable supply for critical minerals. Due to their scarcity, and disruptions in the supply of these minerals can disrupt global efforts to shift to a low-carbon economy. Here I give an example. For instance, during the COVID-19 pandemic, some countries were forced to halt mining operations during the early stages of lockdown. These countries include Peru and South Africa. And then you look at Peru is responsible for 12% of the global copper production, while South Africa is responsible for 75% of the global platinum production. Copper and platinum are key minerals when it comes to the energy transition. So any disruptions in any of these countries, it means that it's going to affect the global move to transition to a low carbon economy. Now, the other thing is the issue of technological requirements. The lockdown measures, which were temporarily imposed on the mining sector in Peru and South Africa, for instance, significantly disrupted the supply of critical minerals, hence highlighting the need for global initiatives to ensure security of supply for these minerals even during the pandemic. This is because low carbon technologies require more minerals than fossil fuel technologies. So it's true when it comes to the issue of technology, you realize that both low carbon technologies and fossil fuel technologies, they both require minerals. Because even diesel or petrol cars, they require minerals. But however, you notice that low carbon technologies would require more minerals compared to fossil fuel technologies. In this example, we look at the electric cars, and you notice that electric cars use 5 times as much minerals as a conventional car, and an onshore wind plant requires 8 times as much minerals as a gas-fired plant of the same capacity. So here you're looking at the wind turbines or onshore wind, and they're comparing it to the gas-fired plant. And then you're looking at the electric vehicles, and we're comparing it to a conventional car. And you realize that they all require more minerals compared to the fossil fuel-based technologies. Consequently, electric transport and grid storage are currently the largest consumers of lithium, together accounting for 35% of the total demand. So electric transport and grid storage are currently the largest consumers of lithium, together accounting for 35% of the total demand. But now what happens if we run out of this lithium? Remember, lithium, these are minerals. These are extractives that are associated with environmental impacts that are really contributing to climate change. So we need to be very careful when we are stopping projects for fossil fuel or extractive industries, because I know even some schools, universities, institutions in the UK, even in different countries, were shying away from being associated with fossil fuels or extractives. There's some institutions or even funders that initially were funding extractive industries projects, but then they had to cut that funding. They started to shy away because of the pressure, the public pressure from climate change activists. And then they stopped funding extractive industries projects. But remember, these extractives are the ones that are essential for the energy transition, which is a necessity if you're to tackle climate change. So I repeat, you have to stay away from the straight light effect. You need to stay away from all that pressure that people always really put on different experts, on different scholars, that, oh, if you're not talking about climate change, you're doing a wrong thing. If you're supporting fossil fuels, you are doing a wrong thing. If you're supporting extractives, you're doing a wrong thing. We need to put emotions away. We need to put emotions aside and understand that we need a level playing field. For institutions, universities, you need to keep these courses because people need to know about them. For the donors, funders, you need to keep investing or contributing more funding for the extractive industries, because at the end of the day, you need these minerals for the energy transitions. So you need people to research and find solutions on how they can come up with technologies that can ensure that these resources are utilized in a sustainable and environmental friendly manner for us to tackle climate change. But don't run away from problems, don't run away from challenges. Fund people to do research and come up with solutions for these challenges. So the key concerns with respect to critical minerals, remember this is a very short presentation, so if you want more input, more insights on critical minerals and the energy transitions, if you want more practical views and biased research, you have to reach out to me, Dr. Victoria Nalule, and me and my team at Nalule Energy and Minerals Consultancy. We can do either tailored research for institutions, organizations, oil companies, mining companies. We can do executive trainings. We even have an executive training coming up in London in July. So sign up for these executive trainings. We do lots of things. So involve us even in the consultancy, because you'll be well assured that you will have consultancy or research from people who are not biased. We're not driven by emotions, we're driven by facts, realities, the practicability. We're not blinded by the streetlight effect. So the key concerns with respect to critical minerals, first and foremost, production of critical minerals is concentrated in a few countries. So that brings in the issues of geography and the issues of security of supply, the politics, the geopolitics can easily play a big role in disrupting the supply of these critical minerals. Critical minerals, like I've been mentioning, they're vital for renewable energy technologies. So what happens when we run out of critical minerals? Also, additionally, for the countries that have these minerals, do you need a fourth generation of mining laws? That is something I can cover later on when I talk about mining laws, the different generation of mining laws, what each generation aims to cover, or to what each generation aims to tackle, the challenges they aim to tackle. And I haven't seen a lot of countries really focusing on a generation of mining laws that is focused on critical minerals. But given their importance in this era of energy transitions and climate change, we might have to think about a fourth or even fifth generation of mining laws focused on critical minerals. Then, like I mentioned earlier, supply of these minerals may be affected by not only local geological and market parameters, but also by regulatory changes. So remember, only a few countries possess these minerals. What happens if they change their laws, and the laws in some way they're not favorable to the investors, and the investors have to take away their investments or their money from those countries. That would be a disaster for the global move to tackle climate change and transition to a low carbon economy. So geopolitics plays a vital role in the supply of critical minerals. These are my details. If you want more information, if your company requires executive trainings, if you need tailored research, because this is a very short video, but obviously we can provide these services at an affordable fee. So reach out to me, Dr. Victoria Nalule. Remember, I have authored several books, several book chapters, several journal articles. I've interacted with policymakers. I've given executive trainings to different oil companies. So you'll be in the right hands with Dr. Victoria Nalule and our team at Nalule Energy and Minerals Consultancy. In brief, it's called NAME Energy. Anyway, that's it with respect to critical minerals. It's a short video, but you can involve us, you need to support us, support our work, support our company, and also involve us in the consultancies. So that's it. This marks the end of the video. Thank you very much and have a lovely day. It's very sunny here. Right now I'm in Bradford in United Kingdom. It's a sunny day. So have a lovely day. Bye-bye.